break-in and enter, malicious mischief, vandalism, resisting arrest. Anything else happen I should know about?
Yeah, I robbed a few banks. Is that a problem?
Yeah, I'm glad you were only out there 3 days, son. Sit down.
Oh, did you miss me, Dwight?
Okay, right on now. Bye, Joe.
Hello and welcome. Welcome and hello. This is Wait, You Haven't Seen? It's a show where we talk about movies, and specifically, we talk about a movie at least one of us has never seen before. I'm your host, Travis, a.k.a. TV's Travis. This is episode number 347, and our movie this week from 1993 is Free Willy, and here to talk with me about it because one of them had seen it, one hadn't, and one really wanted to talk about it. It's Alex and Tim from the Horse Girls. Alex, Tim, how are you?
Fantastic. And I am so excited that Alex finally gets to unleash this on the world.
I am so freaking excited to talk about this movie.
All right. So, Tim, you had not seen this movie before.
I had not. I did not even know who was in this movie, it turns out, until I watched it. Yeah.
So how is it you didn't just accidentally see this as a kid
I
or
don't
something? Because you're around the same age, so this would have been right in that era, I would think.
Yeah, I would have. Yeah, I don't know. There's honestly several movies that have just gotten past me, and this was one of them. I don't have a clue because it seemed that I was the only guy remaining who had not seen it.
Now, Alex, I know you have seen it. I'm going to ask you about it here in a second, but before I unleash you on our podcasting audience, I will say I did see this. I did not see it in the theater, but I saw it shortly thereafter on home video. I remember watching it. I never watched any of the sequels. There's not one, not two, but 3 sequels to this movie, plus a animated series that I had no clue about. I don't have any memory of that. I probably have not watched this movie in 30 years. So I did watch it. A lot of it came flooding back as I was watching it. There were things I definitely didn't remember. But it was one of those that was just right at the right time and watching it on home video. And we picked it up at the rental store one weekend and watched it. And I was like, it was fun. And then moved on from it, which is very different than what happened with you, Alex. So ready, set, and go.
Wonderful. Thanks for the runway. Just to start, I have to say the question that I got today when posting that we were doing this was, how does Tim not know this whole movie just from being on a podcast with you? Which is a great question. How did you not know the actors? But honestly, I love this movie so much. It's one of those that was on repeat and VHS in my house. Tim, for I think Christmas a couple of years ago, got me all the VHSs with this special. I have the necklace that was super important in the second movie. I have the compass. I have loved these movies for so long, and I followed Keiko, which is the whale's actual name for those who don't know. It was a whale that was in Mexico at the time, Reno Aventura Park. Keiko. Anyways, I followed his journey all through the rehabilitation and re-release and rewilding all the way up until his death. And I freaking love this movie. The answer when I was a kid of what do you want to be when you grow up was marine biologist because of this movie, right up until I accidentally went to art school.
This feels like 2 different paths to be on.
Yeah, they vastly.
In a lot of ways. But
vastly.
So I had forgotten a few of the people that were in this. I didn't. The kid. All right. So it's the story of a young kid who befriends a whale in captivity, and then helps set him free. I mean, that's basically the story. But Jason James Richter plays Jesse. He's done a lot since then, but not really a whole lot that I was super familiar with. But he's been acting. He's been working ever since. This was his debut, though. And to be honest, I still think he's pretty good in it. For a kid at 12 years old in his first acting job, it was pretty good. Although I have to say, watching it today, you could tell the stuff that was shot on some sound stages and some stuff that was shot later because he looks slightly older and his hair is vastly different. And that it threw me a few times. He would be inside scrubbing paint and then walk outside and all of a sudden he has a mullet. And I was like, wait a second, his hair was quite a bit shorter 3 steps ago. What happened there? But I liked him quite a bit. Tim, what did you think of Jesse? First as the performance and then as the character.
Okay, as a performance, a pretty solid, right? No real issues. As a character, instantly hated him. Instantly hated him. I hadn't been allowed to talk about this movie with Alex, but there was one thing that I absolutely could not let go, is when he stole the cake. And I was like, don't steal from small business. What is wrong with you? Like, whatever other shenanigans you want to. And so, like, in my head for like the next 20 minutes, I went through the path that this lady went through as her bakery failed. And like, I'll be honest, it like instantly throughout that portion of the movie, I'm like, I don't like this movie. This movie is I really don't like it. Now, moving on, once he gets to the part where he actually starts cleaning up the facility and stuff, and then by the end of the movie, I was like, no, this is actually like a really good movie. Like, this is fantastic. But yeah, immediately I'm like, dislike. Nope, sorry, kid.
Yeah, Jesse is an interesting character. What I did find kind of interesting was there's an early version of the script that they rewrote. So the guy that wrote the script, this was his only screenwriting credit, was Keith Walker. And the script that he had, Richard Donner executive produced this, and Lauren Schuler Donner produced it.
Which I did not know.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that. But they got the script, and they liked it, but they didn't love it. And so they had it reworked a little bit. And I guess in his early versions, Jesse was mute for the entirety of the movie until he says, like, Free Willy at the very end.
What?
Yeah, and I even read something where he lived with a bunch of nuns. And there was something, so they changed him from this mute child to a teenage street tough. And I think the way it was worded was they thought it was too saccharine and too formulaic, the way that it was, and so they made him into this like 12-year-old foster, orphan kid. And my thought reading that was like, yeah, but it was still very formulaic and still very saccharine at the end. So
I have a hard time believing that it was more formulaic with him as a mute.
Yeah, that doesn't
Like,
really
that sounds,
make a whole lot of sense to me.
No, it sounds like quite a departure to me.
But I'm kind of with you. Like, Jesse is a bit of a shit at the beginning of the movie and kind of throughout it in weird ways, but it also makes sense. They do a job of making him both likable and unlikable at the same time and feel like an actual orphaned kid. The whole idea of him waiting for his mom to come back. And he was old enough when she abandoned him to remember her, but not old enough to like fully get what was going on. And so he's constantly waiting for her to just show up. And that, coupled with Michael Madsen as his foster dad here, Glenn, was inspired casting.
Yes, that was one of the ones. It was Michael Madsen and it was Lori Petty that I was like, how have I not seen this movie?
Yeah, Lori Petty's character needed more screen time.
Yeah, I agree.
But the thing with Glenn, Michael Madsen as Glenn, that I loved is you're conditioned to always think of the foster parents in a lot of these movies as being the bad guys, right? It's often that. And then you cast Michael Madsen there, who is known to play characters that you don't like. He can play these slimy characters really, really well. And he toes that line just a little bit here. But he like Glenn and Annie are genuinely trying to be good for Jesse. And Glenn wants to. He just doesn't quite know how. So he's doing the things that he thinks a dad is supposed to do. But he's not doing it that well. But like it worked so well with Madsen in that role. I really liked that.
The first thing that you think of when you see Michael Madsen is, when is he going to cut this kid's ear off?
Right.
Like, that's the absolute first thing.
I had
You're like,
such a vastly different experience of that actor, specifically because this was like my what I hung all of my what I know about him on.
Our introduction, and I'm assuming this is the same for you, Travis, but our introduction was Reservoir Dogs.
It was Reservoir Dogs. He was in Kill Bill. He did a lot with Tarantino. He did a lot with what was it? Was it not Mimic? the Relic.
Was it Relic? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I would see him in anything else, and I'd be like, "Oh, that's Glenn from Free Willy."
Yeah, that's not the reaction we have.
See,
as soon as we see him, we're like, "Oh, stuff's gonna go bad."
That's what I love about like where you find an actor. It's so great because I definitely but he does this role to perfection. He has a great little arc. Like he's trying to be the good dad, doesn't really know how to do it, sort of figures it out by the end, but he's also just right in like letting Jesse come to him. And he sort of understands that part of it. Because there were several parts where they could have gone the tropey route and had him really go over the top and get demonstrative and yell at him and all, and he never did. And I really, really like that. And then I love Lori Petty so much, and she's good in the screen time that she gets, but she doesn't get to do much here. And that bummed me out. I will say I like this script quite a bit, but from a purely like, all right, I'm going to nitpick and sort of do the film critic thing here. There's a lot of things going on, some of which sort of get forgotten for periods of time. Like the whole opening. First of all, we've got like 2 solid minutes of just whales at the opening of the movie. Fine with that. Set the tone. Show us the whales. I'm cool. But then we spend time with the kids, and then we just forget about all of that. There's 4 of them. You mentioned taking the cake, which that was the second worst thing they did with that cake. The worst was they grabbed the one when the cops show up and they scramble.
Mm-hmm.
I captured a little GIF of this and I posted it somewhere. But he reaches in, grabs just frosting, and then steps in the middle of the cake.
Yeah.
As he's running away. No, don't do that. Someone else could have eaten that cake, and now they can't.
I see.
All right. Can I defend Jesse a little bit?
No, go for it.
Can I please? Okay. So the way that you have described this script is wonderful and excellent and good. I absolutely did not know it from that angle because I knew it from the fact that they had shot this out to the head of like the guy that basically got the National Whaling Association to stop whaling. Like they got him on board with the script early on. So the whole point that they were coming out from there was they were trying to prove this was like the soundbite is bad kid, bad whale. That's how they shopped it to the guys that are like, yeah, come on, be like these whaling guys, get on here, give us your like, what you did for the movement. I think they had to make Jesse unlikable to parallel him with Free Willy because there's no freaking way that Keiko is unlikable. That whale is charismatic as hell. I think Jesse needed to be bad so that they could say, see, the whale's bad too, because they're the same.
No. And the thing with Jesse is he's a bit of a dick at the start of the movie, and he has his moments where he like lashes out for what would seem like forced reasons, but you have to think about the fact that it's a kid. He doesn't understand the situation that he's in. Like I kept watching this thinking, man, you just want to throttle him, but at the same time, no, that's how a kid would react. Right? He would get upset, he would hear the foster parents arguing, probably not the first foster home he's been in. Some of them, for all we know, have been bad. Like that scene where he opens up the gift and it's the baseball and then he gets upset, throws it through the window. All of that could have gone very differently. The parents could have come in and Glenn could have started yelling at him about breaking the window and what are you doing? He could have lashed out at him, all this kind of stuff. Instead, Glenn is understanding. He's calm, and even Jesse in that moment, he just is vulnerable and says, I'm scared. And I liked that. Like there was great character work done in this. He just, started the movie. He's a little bastard, but whatever. That's fine. It was more that they had the 4 kids, and you could have easily had like much more subplot with them. Instead, 2 of them, Danielle Harris and the other one, just disappear. They're just gone for the rest of the movie. And I'd completely forgotten she was in this. And I'm seeing her like I just recently watched Halloween 5 for Gore. And she's in that. So I'm like, oh, Danielle Harris, cool. Nope, not in the rest of the movie. And even Perry, like the one that he runs off with, and they have the whole chase scene, which was a lot of fun. That kid is the fastest tagger in the West, though. He used so much spray paint in such a small amount of time on that tank. I could not believe it. It was he walked out of the room and he was gone for 10 seconds and he had sprayed all along that tank intricately. I was just blown away by it. But that kid, did he look familiar to either of you at all? Because you've probably seen him in something else.
Yes, familiar, but not. I didn't place anything.
So I looked up some of his acting credits, right? Michael Bacall is his name. And he's been acting ever since. A lot of small roles. I just saw him Friday night. I went and saw The Running Man.
Oh, he's in The Running Man.
And he has just a small little role. He's like a stoner dude in one scene. But when I was looking him up and I saw his picture, I'm like, why? As an adult, and I'm like, I've seen him somewhere before. So he was in that. He had like small roles in things like Django Unchained and Inglourious Bastards and some of these other Death Proof and whatnot. So he's been acting. He's got 57 credits. He's kept acting, but he's done some screenwriting. And here's the fun one. This was the one that really kind of knocked me over. He wrote the screenplay for Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
No.
21 Jump Street and 22 Jump Street. And also wrote the screenplay for Running Man. So he's been doing some writing as well as acting, which I thought was really cool.
Some really good writing because some of those, like 21 and 22 Jump Street had no business being nearly as funny as they were. And Scott Pilgrim's one of the best movies made. And I did not know.
Yeah,
I would never put that together. Yeah.
Nope. Did not make that connection at all. And I've looked this person up before, I know. Because when I did Scott Pilgrim versus the World for this show, I definitely saw his name. Didn't clock it one bit. And the Perry thing, from a narrative standpoint, it was fun to have that. And then for him to show up later when he's at the fish market and kind of check in on him. And then the movie forgets about him for another half hour. And then he shows up one last time. And I honestly, my memory was like, oh, this is going to be much more important this last time he shows up. Like more is going to happen with that. No, it's just Jesse being like, I can't. And kid just leaves. So
the postcard.
Yeah.
That was the takeaway, was that little postcard.
Yeah. It almost is like, it is the thing where Jesse is going to run away before he goes and talks to Willy that last time. But I just, for whatever reason, my memory was like, no, something else happens with Perry. No, the movie's just like, nah, he's here, but whatever. But the kid, again, I think the kids in this were believable for me as a movie goes. I mean, there's levels of that. But the other two faces that I completely forgot were in this movie was Michael Ironside as Dial.
Chester, of course.
Yep. Yeah. You need a bad guy in your 90s movie. Michael Ironside is at the top of your list of people you're going to get because
100%.
He can look so crazy.
Yes.
He has got a face and eyebrows. I did read where they offered the part to Jack Nicholson and he turned it down. Apparently he turned it down because it didn't pay much. Which if you can't get Jack Nicholson, Michael Ironside is like a great proxy because he's got those same crazy eyebrows and the smile. And here he's playing it a slightly more comedic, which I did like, but he's another one like Lori Petty. I just wanted more of him in the movie.
Yeah.
But I love Michael Ironside. And then Richard Riehle.
So, that was another one where I saw him immediately and I'm like, I know him. And I sat there for probably a good half hour before it just popped in my head that he has people skills. And I was like, that's got to be the guy from Office Space.
It's because he doesn't have his lip ferret.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly it.
Seeing him clean shaven is like seeing Wilford Brimley clean shaven in The Thing. It doesn't make sense. Yeah. It shouldn't be allowed. Like it just is wrong. I've seen Tom Selleck without any facial hair, and my brain can't process it.
Yep.
There's just certain people that you're just ingrained to have that, and Richard Riehle is one of them because I like him a lot. But every time whenever he would pop up in this movie, it's just like it gave me the heebie-jeebies because his face was too naked.
Yeah, that one took a long time. Oh my God, no, I know that guy though. I know that guy.
Plus, he's kind of ultimately the real villain throughout all of it. Because I don't know. I mean, you can infer maybe that Dial told him to somehow sabotage things, but I feel like that was his idea because he's the one that mentions it earlier about the insurance policy.
And he's the one that sees the leaky spot.
Yeah.
So he's the one that definitely sees the opportunity.
And then
Ugh.
takes the most threatening bite of popcorn known to man.
Yes. That the bite of popcorn and then the look on his face
Yep.
was something else. And the last couple, so Jane Atkinson is Annie. I thought Annie was fine. Sort
Yeah.
of, again, in the Michael Ironside, Lori Petty category of just not enough time to really do a whole lot. She does have some great moments with Jesse, though, and is very believable. I will say the house that Annie and Glenn have is massive for a teacher on a sabbatical and a guy that owns an auto shop. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like Glenn might be doing some things out of that auto shop that he shouldn't be.
Just wait until the second one where they have the whole like camping getup and everything, and like it doesn't get better as the movies go on.
That was the reaction to the baseball when he throws it through the glass. And I was like, they are amazingly calm for this. They have to be strapped for affording this place already.
You would think.
So now replacing a window on top of it?
Well, yeah, you can tell they saved money by putting in the cheapest windows known to mankind.
No doubt. Also, initially, I thought this was in California at first. And I'm seeing this house, and I'm like, there's no way they could afford this in California. As it is, it's Oregon, which is probably not that much more
Not much better.
affordable.
Yeah.
But, you know. And August Schellenberg as Randolph.
Yes.
He was
My
fun
guy.
in that trope of the mystical old man, in this case, Native American. But I liked him. He's Canadian, and you could kind of hear it a little bit there. But I liked him. He had a clip I will play later that might be one of my favorite just single moments in the movie. We'll see if you haven't. Before I play it, I'll ask you if you have guesses for what I'm going to play. But
I definitely have one, so I'm excited for that.
but he was fun. I like that trope of sort of, because he's the one that Jesse is sent to initially, and he sees something in Jesse right away. And then when he witnesses like Jesse and Willy communicating, I love the going out of his way to be like, well, we could use some help. Like, let me give the kid a job type thing, because it feels like such a movie trope for that to happen. And yet I love it every time it does. He was a lot of fun. And I think if I read right, he's in all three of the mainline movies, right?
He is. He is in all three. And he in the second one is like he's a big part in all of them. But like the sort of journey that he goes through is absolutely a blast to watch, because
Really?
like by the third one, you can tell, like, to me, again, I watch no movies except Free Willy, so this is the only perspective I have. In the second one, he's kind of like off on this eco journey. He's with his niece. He has this whole other thing. In the third one, they're in a fight with whalers, and he just like, it was like August saw this and he was like, this is my moment to be in an action movie and have a bar fight scene and go nuts. And like, he looks like he's having so much fun in the third one. Like,
Nice.
it's a blast to watch because of him.
I'd like to see him in a bar fight, because the thing I was thinking when I saw him for the first time is the first time we meet him, he's wearing a Seattle Supersonics hat, which I loved that first off.
Yes.
And this would have been right in the era where like the Supersonics were good, right? This was the Sean Kemp, Gary Payton era.
Yes.
But also he had no sleeves, because that's what you have. And he had what I like to call the old man strength arms. He had these like old toned, but somehow still looking almost flabby arms is the only way I can describe it, where it's deceptive, right? Because you see somebody with that and you're thinking, he's just an old man. But then, he grabs you and he just has the grip of a gorilla, and he's been working with his hands for his entire life. And if he hits you, it's like being hit by a chunk of concrete. It's just it's that old dad strength.
That was my first thought when he popped on screen, is like, ooh, how bad do I want that hat?
Oh,
That hat is
that hat
awesome.
was great.
Yeah.
There was the hat, and then also, by the way, not only do Annie and Glenn have this nice house and they foster a kid, but they set him up with a bunch of clothes and a pair of Air Jordans,
Yeah, did you see that? Yep.
which was cool until half the movie he's walking around in the water in those Air Jordans. And I'm like, get out of the water in those shoes, kid. Come on. You killing me here.
I was thinking about you guys in the scene where he's sitting on the edge of the pool and like they're already soaked, right? He's already, they're bad. But then like Willy is like spraying the water and he just keeps lifting his feet, but he's going right back in the water. And I'm like, these guys are probably livid.
At least the next scene when he comes back out, he's wearing like aqua socks.
Yeah.
Like, good. But then a scene later, he's back in his Jared Jordans. I'm like, come on, man. Seriously. Plus, you're just going to get swamp foot at that point too. Like it's just bad for your feet. So, no, I liked everybody in this, and it's relatively small cast when you really think about it. Like,
yeah.
We get the whalers at the very end. We see them at the beginning. We see them again at the end. But they're just a bunch of mooks. Like they're nobodies. They don't even have names, I don't think. Their lines of dialogue are shouting "Hey" from the boat, and that's about it. But for the most part, it's a very small cast. I like movies that do that because it lets me invest in the characters and it lets the characters have time to breathe, even if it's sort of it's very good. I really enjoy this movie. I'm going to say that. I have a good time. I had a good time watching this and remembering it again. But I think what could have made it like the next level, sort of for me, like almost Goonies level, would have been trimming some of the side plots and bringing a little bit more together. Give us, and it's hard because I don't know what you would trim exactly. I don't know where you could do that and keep the movie, because it's paced really well and it moves along and it's not overly long. It's an hour 50, I think. And I also need to think about it in the fact that it's a family film. It's not meant to be an Oscar winner, right? It's not meant to be like where all the critics fawn over it and talk about it for decades. It's meant to be a really fun story. And so in that, it succeeds, in my opinion, very, very well. And I had fond memories of seeing it as a kid. Tim, watching it for the first time now, do you feel like had you watched it when you were younger, this would be something you would come back to?
Yes, absolutely. This would have been right up there. And actually, it's really funny because you know how when you're watching streaming services, you'll finish your movie and then the next thing will be up playing. So if you're doing something else, the next movie. Well, the next movie was Angels in the Outfield. And I'm like,
okay.
As I'm watching this, I'm like, yeah, this probably isn't all that great of a movie, but it has like a special place for you because you saw it when you're 13 years old or whatever. So it's like the same thing for Free Willy. Like this would have absolutely been a fantastic. And I'll tell you, did you pick Goonies to compare it to because that was another Richard Donner movie?
No, I actually picked Goonies to compare it to for a different reason I'll get to, but
okay. But so this movie, when I watched the first 20 minutes, I'm like, I don't like this. I don't know why people like this. And then you watch like the next hour and you're like, yeah, it's a good movie. It's a good movie. But then once the actual whale heist happens, okay, this is one of the best movies ever made. When I know we'll get to all this, but like when Glenn shows up later and stuff, I was like, this movie's fantastic and I love it so much.
I think maybe that's why I think like you could streamline some things is when the actual story gets going in that last act, it picks up and it feels like you could almost condense acts 1 and 2 into an act and give us more with the heist and more of like, we only had the one moment of Willy not performing, which I totally get. Like that scene, I was just like, you don't have anybody on staff to tell these kids to quit hitting the glass.
I was like wanting to punch my TV watching those kids. That was so infuriating for me.
It really was. So I do want to say the reason I brought up the Goonies specifically is if this movie was made in 1993, if you had made this 8 to 10 years earlier, so around 85, 86, Jesse being played by Sean Astin would have been perfect.
It was so good.
Goonies era Sean Astin would have been a perfect Jesse, in my opinion.
Corey Feldman as his buddy.
Dude, I think that would have changed the literal trajectory of my life. Having him play that in Free Willy to Lord of the Rings. Like, that would have changed everything for me.
See, that was the path that we took because he went from Goonies to Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
So that was
And see,
our trajectory.
Well,
I
but
still
by way
haven't
of,
seen the Goonies in order, so like I
Yeah.
still, yeah.
I mean, he went to Goonies. He went to Lord of the Rings through Goonies by way of Rudy.
Rudy. Yep.
So, he had to go to college and play football first. then he becomes a Hobbit.
Yeah.
There were so many moments in here where I'm like, and then I read that the scriptwriter was inspired while watching Goonies to write his story and set it where it was, and then Richard Donner gets involved. So there's like Goonies fingerprints all over this.
Yes.
Which is a lot of fun. I'm not sure anybody else I would really recast. As much as I kind of want to live in the world where Jack Nicholson took the role of Dial, it's not enough screen time, and I just like Michael Ironside.
I do
like
too,
him.
and I think he settles into grumpy, money-driven businessman a little bit better, and maybe Jack Nicholson is a little more over the top. I think
too, if you cast Jack in this, it is no longer a family movie.
Yeah,
You have to almost go with it as a PG-13 to R-rated, some sort of heist thing going on, and then you're taking the kid out of it, and you're going in a whole different direction. Like, it's a very different movie with him as a villain, whereas Ironside, again, he's that kind of Jack Nicholson light, and he can give you a more cartoonish moments. The I Hate That Whale is just amazing. It's so good.
One of the other things that I wanted to mention, and I had been wanting to talk to Alex about this. So we keep talking about Richard Donner, right?
Yeah.
Richard Donner has made some sort of like epic movies as we've gone through. Did you know that he directed a 2003 movie called Timeline that's based on the Michael Crichton book?
I did not, and I haven't seen it. So.
No, neither have I. It has Paul Walker in it, and I'm like, why have I not? I have to finish this book so that I can watch this movie.
Take this one step further for you. I didn't clock that he had even worked on this movie until the New York Times just did a 5-episode podcast called The Good Whale on Keiko. And that was how I kind of came into my movie facts, was through that direction.
Oh, yeah?
And so I was like, yeah, so they gave the credits. They're like, yeah, it was him and his wife. And they decided, because they wanted to do this again, this big message. It was the 90s. They're like, we have to do some sort of save the animals thing. So they picked up Free Willy for that reason, according to his wife, because they interviewed her after he had passed. But yeah, they went into it that way. So everything I know about them and why they picked up that movie was from the lens of like this very like weird how Willy got freed kind of perspective.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I mean, Richard Donner made some great movies. He made some stuff that was all right. He did a movie I feel like is kind of underrated. It's not a great film, but I had a good time with it. Was 16 Blocks.
I haven't seen 16 Blocks.
Bruce Willis, David Morse, Mos Def. It was actually, I saw that and I saw Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and I'm like, Mos Def needs to be in more things because he's really compelling. And then he kind of went off on his own and isn't really doing a whole lot of acting.
Be Kind Rewind, I think he was in also.
Yes.
If I'm not getting confused. Yeah, fantastic. The couple that got me, we could have a whole nother episode. So I'm not going to talk about Superman 2. I'm not even going to bring up Superman 2. Did you know that he directed The Omen?
Yes.
I did not.
Yep.
I learned that when I went on my little rabbit hole here. I was like, what on earth?
Yeah, he did some great movies. And
Superman
we lost
2.
him
He's
too
talking
soon,
about
in my
Superman 2.
opinion.
Yes. You were talking about Superman 2.
Yeah, well,
that's exactly what he was talking about, Superman 2.
For sure. Also, the director of this, Simon Windsor is his name, and wasn't familiar with the name when I saw it. And I'm usually pretty good at like knowing directors. It's a thing that I love, is to see and follow directors. And Windsor was not a name that I was familiar with, so I go looking. You've seen some stuff that he's done, I'm sure.
Have I?
There's another director I'm going to mention by name, a gentleman by the name of Peter Hyams. And Peter Hyams directed movies that I love, like Running Scared. He did Time Cop, Sudden Death, The Relic. These were all Peter Hyams films.
Okay.
And I love, like, Running Scared is one of my favorite movies of all time, hands down. And I always like a Peter Hyams directed movie. And when I was watching this, I was getting those vibes of who Peter Hyams is. So Hyams is not an auteur, right? He's not a Quentin Tarantino. He's not a Steven Spielberg or an Ari Aster, where like they write and direct their own things and they have this grand vision. Hyams is closer to that, what I like to call working director. Not quite, almost like a gun for hire. Like, you need somebody to direct a movie that's gonna do it on time, on budget, and they're gonna put out a quality thing, and they have a good eye for visuals. Here you go. Like, he's not a John McTiernan making Die Hard or anything like that, but he's kind of that next level down. Windsor gives me that feel. He got his start in television in Australia, and he did a bunch of stuff. And then in the mid '80s, he did a movie called Daryl.
Oh, I remember Daryl.
And he also did Quigley Down Under with Tom Selleck in 1990.
Yeah. With mustache.
Here is a list of 3 straight movies that kind of melts me a little bit. Quigley Down Under in 1990. The next year, he directs Harley Davidson and the Marlboro Man. And then his next film after that is Free Willy.
Can't miss. Cannot miss.
He also did Lightning Jack with Paul Hogan.
Oh, wow.
And then Operation Dumbo Drop. He was the guy who directed The Phantom with Billy Zane.
Okay, underrated.
Yeah, and it's those kinds of movies, right? Like, he is a director that is competent. He can work and give you a solid movie without it ever. He's not going to win awards. Is kind of the way that I look at it. It's that working director. But I was really surprised going through, because as I was watching this, I'm like, this guy knows how to frame everything and pace everything, and this is well made. This is really good. And I was trying to think of who this is. And I'm like, Simon Windsor, I don't know. And then I go through looking. I'm like, oh yeah, The Phantom, Harley Davidson, The Marlboro Man, all this kind of. These are solid movies.
Okay, Harley Davidson and The Marlboro Man. The only reason it didn't win awards is because I believe that people didn't watch it. That's literally one of my favorite movies. Like, it's so dumb. Like, it's like the last of the great 80s action movies to me.
Yeah. Oh, he also did a bunch of young Indiana Jones.
Oh, really?
Like, a lot of it. So
I liked young Indiana Jones a lot.
Yeah. So that's the director. And I appreciate directors like Simon Windsor and Peter Hyams. I love diving into people like David Lynch, right?
Yes.
And stuff like that. I love these directors where not only do they have a vision, but they're very singular in their storytelling. Yeah. But I am also very like appreciative of, and a lot of these guys will get their, or women will get their start in television. And television directing is so different from film directing because the pace is so much faster and you just have to put a product out. It is more important to be on time and under budget than anything else. And then I learned Simon Windsor was hired to direct Free Willy 6 weeks before filming started.
Whoa.
Because the original director left. So there again, that's that working mentality of like, you got 6 weeks to prep and he still puts out a very solid, very competently made movie. That is not easy to do at all.
I have to know, you've talked about Peter Hyams, who I am not familiar with. I'm very familiar with his work, apparently. Alex, did you ever see Sudden Death?
No.
Okay, this needs to be one of the few movies that you've seen. It's a Jean-Claude Van Damme hockey movie.
Well, I mean,
sort of.
It's a hockey movie in that it's Die Hard in a hockey
in a hockey game, but
is what it is. And it was he made that the year after Van Damme and him made Time Cop, which is another great. Those are good. They're still not my favorite Peter Hyams. If you watch one Peter Hyams movie, watch Running Scared. It is, for my money,
Running Scared.
It is my favorite buddy cop film ever. You can have your 48 Hours. You can have your Lethal Weapons. I will take Running Scared. It's Billy Crystal and Gregory Hines as Chicago cops who
I've
take a
not seen that.
vacation to Key West and then decide they're going to do one more case and then retire. And it's great. And I've been to spots they filmed in Chicago for that movie. I have loved it since I was a child when I was way too young to get to watch this R-rated movie. It was great. It is phenomenal. But Free Willy was a movie that I was of the age to watch at the time. And I did enjoy it. And I got some clips of this movie. There was some stuff I had to record because the other person, I didn't mention him earlier, Michael T. Williamson, who we heard at the top of the show. This is a pre-Bubba Michael T. Williamson, right? Forrest Gump hadn't come out yet.
Mm.
And I always like him. There's something about him. He is able to deliver some ridiculous lines in such a great way. And when we meet him, of course, he's the social worker. And like even something as simple as,
Now, I hate telephones.
Holy crap. Didn't realize that was Bubba.
yep, that's Bubba.
Did not realize until right now, and it sure is, isn't it?
And he hates telephones, which he would fit in perfectly with the millennial generation. Because millennials don't like taking phone calls. And I hate telephones. I spent 45 minutes on a conference call. Like, yeah, you did. Yeah, you did.
He's had a line in that movie that's like lived rent free in my head for my entire life. And that's the whole like, didn't turn around, didn't even look around, didn't even look in the rear view mirror. And that like will play in my head at random.
Oh, yeah. That was the one. So I liked that scene because he's been, again, this is a guy who genuinely cares about Jesse. You can tell this guy cares about these kids. That's why he's in the job. And he sort of understands at this point he's got to do the tough love thing with him. And while I didn't capture any of that particular scene, I loved that because this was that moment in the movie, right, where Jesse's at his lowest point, and Dwight just knows, like, I've got to lay it out for him straight because this kid's not going to get it. Like, his mom left. And that scene was great. He just has a commanding presence in anything he's in. It helps when I think he's like 6'2", so he's tall, and he just has like, he's got a great voice. His diction, he's very sharp with his wording, which is what makes Bubba even funnier as the role that he did because like it was so mush mouthed with that big lip. But he had I hate telephones. I also like
Don't play. Don't come in here being a bonehead.
a bonehead. I love this phrasing.
They'll put you in baby jail. That means a lockup in juvenile hall, son.
Baby jail. I want it to always be called baby jail. And he and Glenn both, but him especially, like calling him son.
Yeah.
I think like 4 or 5 times in the first scene alone, he calls him son, which was great. And also just like laughs. This isn't quite a laugh that I like to capture, but it's a funny noise that he made. I just like that. I couldn't pass that one up. That was too good. But no, Dwight was great. And you know, again, Michael T. Williamson, he's just one of those actors. He is that guy actor. He's a great character actor that when they show up in a movie, I'm just like, I'm happy. Richard Riehle is another one of those. So that was fun. Glenn, Michael Madsen, who we lost too young. Michael Madsen was,
Yes.
and it's funny because he's so known for playing, for anybody that's not Alex, playing these tough guys and these just real grizzled people. But by all accounts, I think he was a fairly just like laid back kind of sweet guy. But it's just interesting to see him in this role. I cannot get over because I definitely didn't remember him from this. Again, it's been 30 years, so
Yeah.
there's a reason for that. But like, he's just so pitch perfect.
He has played some very large characters since then.
Yeah,
That would sort of take up space, I think.
that's true. That is true.
Who knows them? Who knows any one of those over Free Willy?
Well, and it's funny because I would have seen Free Willy before I saw Reservoir Dogs because I didn't see Reservoir Dogs until I think I was like a freshman or sophomore. Funny story on that. I actually read the script for Reservoir Dogs before I saw it because it was floating around. Somebody in my high school had a copy of it somehow, which is really odd given where I live. Like I am nowhere near LA, but some like it had been floating around early versions of the internet, and he had gotten it, and so we read a bunch of it. But no, like the way Glenn is throughout the movie, I kept waiting for that moment where you realize, no, he is just in it for the money, and you keep waiting for him to be what Jesse thinks he is.
Mm-hmm. And he never does.
Unless you're Alex again, who's shaking her head at us.
Well, no, I was thinking of the scene actually where he talks about, you get like two major points of him having to give up one of his babies, his cars, for love. Cause he talks about the car that he got that he gave up for Annie.
Mm-hmm.
And then later on, when they have Willy and the trailer's falling down the cliff and everything, and then the choice he has to make at the very end to back the trailer into the water and give it up. And like, when you guys are saying like, yeah, you wait for those points, I'm like, those are the points where I think they set you up to think this is where he's going to snap. This is where he's going to do it. And then every time he comes through, and it's just, I love him so much in this movie.
He's great.
The argument with Annie was the one where I was like, this is it. This is where he storms out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And
it doesn't go that way.
Happen.
No, it's such inspired casting to put him in there. And he understood the assignment perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
And he's
also the.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say he's also the only one that could deliver that line of "nice whale, thanks." And or I think it was August that did that. But like he in that whole thing was great.
Oh yeah,
that was the best line in the movie. Nice whale, thanks.
Yeah. No, he's just great. But he's set up like initially when we first meet him, you know, they pull up and he's there, and I'm like, holy crap, it's Michael Madsen. Cool. All right.
Yeah.
And then, like, one of the first things he says when he hands him all the paperwork, and I love there's always the paperwork, right? I just bought a new car, and I had 37 pages of paperwork, and his response to that is,
well, this is a lease. I ain't buying yet.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So he's not being a complete jerk yet, was my note.
Yeah. We're laying the groundwork for the heel turn that is eventually going to come.
Mm-hmm. And it's an orphan in a movie with foster parents. You're set up for that. I'm conditioned for it. Yep. And then every scene with him, he's trying so hard. Like he comes out with the glove and the baseball, and he's talking to him about, you know, making a pocket in his glove and how he's had it since he was in 8th grade or whatever. And of course, Jesse is moping and being a mopey teenager or preteen. I get it. And then when Jesse walks away from him, I just liked,
yeah, great.
like, just throw my hands up. I don't know what to do now. But then he has these heartfelt moments with him too, when he's talking to him and he's saying how Dwight is telling, like, Glenn doesn't know how to be a dad, and he never planned on being one. You can tell this was absolutely Annie's idea. But he's trying. Bless him, he is trying. And he says that Dwight told him there needs to be rules.
Problem is, I've always been a better rule breaker than a rule maker myself.
And there again, I'm like, okay, so he sort of understands the kid. He gets it, but at some point, Jesse's going to go over the line and he's going to snap at him. But I loved that moment. And you're right. The thing where Jesse shows up to bring him dinner at the shop, and he sees the picture of the 57 Chevy. That's such a cool conversation. Yeah. Because you can tell the reverence he had for that car and how much he loved it. And yet being willing to give that up I was like, oh, I like Glenn. Glenn's awesome.
And seeing how that conversation ends and knowing that moment when Glenn's like, okay, I wish I'd have said that different, or I wish I'd have gone about that different, you know?
That was the moment where I'm like, maybe Glenn is truly a decent guy, because you could see in the performance at that moment, like, oh man, I said I didn't do it right. Like, no, that's great. And I also love when he hasn't stolen the truck yet. This is when Augie brings Jesse back in the middle of the night. So he snuck out, which was great. All right, very simple rules. Be home by 7, be in bed by 10, no going out. That night, sneak out. All right. But then Augie brings him back, and I just loved.
Finally found something that you're into, huh, Jess?
Like, again, just kind of throwing his hands up, but in a way of like, well, I guess this is what we're doing. All right, I'll roll with it. Glenn was so good at rolling with the punches throughout this movie. And when they show up, when he's using the CB. Now, okay, I was a little bit confused in this part. In that, he's at his shop, he's calling him on the CB, and then they leave. They go somewhere else. They run into the, I guess, sheriff. He knew him by name and mentioned the stolen truck. But then they're back on the CB when Jesse calls in.
So I thought the same thing.
Okay.
And because they're like a convenience store now that has the CB.
Okay, good.
And I'm like,
So
I guess
I'm glad I'm not
everybody
the
just
only one.
has, no, like just everybody has CBs.
Just
Is
the
I guess
Pacific
where we're at with
Northwest.
this.
I mean, they're all just one step away from camping up there anyway. So
Yeah. Some natural disaster happens and you got to have ways to communicate. So just everybody's like prepped for it.
yeah.
So,
But now by this point too, because I've now come around to Glenn and I like Glenn, and I'm no longer really waiting for him to have his heel turn. He hears from Jesse and immediately is out there. And the funny part was he was with the police at the time, and yet only him and Annie show up. Which, okay. But I love that he shows up and he's like one last moment of, do I do something here? Do I make them stop? But really, what choice does he have in that moment?
Yeah.
Because if he doesn't help, this whale is tumbling down the side of a hill. Like there is no way they're getting that out of there. And he helps them, and it's awesome. I loved him showing up and grab the winch, and it's behind the seat. And Augie's like, oh, behind the seat. That's the one place I didn't think to look. Augie, have you ever been in a pickup truck?
So the when Glenn helps them when they're on the cliff there or whatever, that was at that moment my favorite Glenn moment. It did not stand by the end of the movie as my favorite.
It sure
Glenn
did.
No, it did not. It did not. But at the time, I was like, "This is awesome."
Yeah, it was so great. And then they take off. They stop at the car wash, which did have my single favorite moment in it, which is the two homeless guys walking by.
That's it. Yep.
And I captured this as a GIF as well, but I had to get the audio of it because it's just they're spraying down the whale in this pull through car wash, and these two guys just walk by.
Nice whale.
Thanks.
That's the best line in the movie.
It could have easily been played even more comedic, where like one of them looks at their paper bag and realizes I can't drink anymore.
Yeah.
Type of thing. But they didn't do that. And it actually makes it, to me, funnier.
Yeah.
To not overplay the comedy in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a nice whale. And he walks away. But then Glenn gets his best moment, right? Because they get to the like pier or whatever they're going to use, and he decides to back his truck into the water. And, he opens up the door, and of course it's filled with water. But when Richard Riehle and all the guys show up and they start trying to grab them all, and you finally get,
Let go of my boy.
it was a little tough to hear there, but it's let go of my boy, and punches him out. And I was like, hell yes.
The part where the Ironside gang is blocking the gate and he just floors the gas right through him. I was like, I love this so much.
Oh yeah.
This movie's fantastic.
Oh, he's it is that tropey 90s family movie, and I'm here for all of it. It's pitch perfect throughout. Jesse's got a few good lines. Jason James Richter really, for a first film, it's really good. The harmonica was a thing that both was in there a lot and also sort of forgotten by like Act 3. They just sort of went away from it. But I had no memory of that at all. And he pulls out the harmonica, and I was like, is he a hobo from the 1930s? Like 1 foot hanging off the side of a boxcar on a train playing his harmonica? I loved it. I did read where they took all of they basically made the harmonica so it couldn't work. That way he couldn't annoy everyone on set, because if you give a harmonica to a 12-year-old boy, he will use it at any and all opportunities.
Yep.
So that was smart by whoever decided that. And then they just had to pipe in music afterwards. But I did love that the song he's playing on the harmonica is the motif of the theme throughout the movie. That was a nice touch. Because the score, that I remembered. I remembered the score being something, and then hearing it was like being woken up like a sleeper agent. Like, oh, I remember watching this movie. Because it's Basil Palladores that did the score for this, and he is really good at making those just memorable motifs that fit throughout his entire movies. So I loved, but the harmonica just. Might want to tune that though. But Jesse too, I again didn't like him at first.
Nope.
And my memory of him was somewhat sketchy, but I'm like, I don't know, this kid's kind of a little, I mean, and it makes sense, right? He is an orphan. He is waiting for his mom to show up. He doesn't want to be in the system. He doesn't want to deal with Dwight, even though Dwight is good to him. He's still.
Dwight's a jerk.
Like, that's just what he thinks. I get it. It fits. Kids are, I was no better when I was a kid, I'm sure. Even to the point of like saying this to Glenn.
See how much they paying you to be my jailer.
This is such a jaded 12-year-old kid.
Yeah.
But Glenn's response to that's so good too, where he's like basically nothing, dude.
Yeah. Well, and in the sarcastic way of like, yeah, I mean, with what they're paying you and $1 million, I could retire. Like,
Yeah.
Also, you can tell he's entering adolescence because
You're like rubbery.
rubbery. Voice cracks a little there. There wasn't enough. Again, I just feel like there wasn't enough interaction between Jesse and Ray. I wanted more time with them because it was fun when Augie realizes that there's a connection there, and he gets Ray involved, and their training with Willy was a lot of fun. That was some of the coolest stuff. But you know, there's even like this moment.
Wait a minute. You want me to take my hand, stick it in his mouth, and rub his tongue?
Yeah, eventually.
I don't think so.
That is the correct response, kid. I don't think so. Like, initially, no, because you see those teeth.
Yeah.
It's so good though. And he spent months training to do that. Cause like he never did water work with the whale, or at least like not without a net separation on it.
Mhm.
But he did all the stuff with actually putting his hand in his mouth and touching his tongue. They took him on set and had him work with the whale. Like, I think it was 2 or 3 months leading up to when they were filming that. And so it's so cool.
Yeah. All the stuff they did with Keiko was great. And what I didn't know until after was how much of this was also animatronic whales.
So much.
Was
and
it
they
really?
did so well with it.
I mean,
I didn't even realize.
yeah, I could watch this again. I couldn't tell you what shots are and aren't. Like, I could have a guess, like a lot of the stuff on the trailer, animatronic,
Yeah.
you're not going to do that to the whale. I get that. But there was stuff in the pool that, like, at least half of that is an animatronic.
No, I didn't realize.
Yep. Anytime he's physically on the whale
Mhm.
in the water with no barrier is all animatronics, because they couldn't put him in the pool. Like, and here's the thing, they weren't following that park wasn't following protocol with the whale most of the time. Like, interviewing the trainers and things now that they weren't, but they were super serious about him. They were like, we can't do this with this kid. So anytime he's physically in the pool and you don't see something blocking the whale, that's an animatronic, which is wild.
Yeah. Because like you could have convinced me that it was a real whale.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's also, I did love when he's there at night and the light comes on, when he falls in, right? It's very obviously a stunt double on the scene where he slips and falls and rolls in, but they shot that at like midnight. And apparently the stunt double for him, she had said that they shot it at midnight, so they weren't going to use the kid, because filming a movie with a child, you have a lot of rules to that. But I did like where, what was it? I gotta find it. Debbie Derryberry. That's a hell of a name. There's a lot of syllables in there. Debbie Derryberry was Jason James Richter's stunt double for some scenes, including Jesse falling into the tank before Willy saves him, which was shot at midnight, and Richter was only allowed to work until 10 o'clock. And also they were worried that you couldn't do it with him because he couldn't hold his breath long enough. He wasn't a stunt actor. So they get Debbie Derryberry to do it. And she also apparently sang a note in order to keep her bubbles at the same size while being pushed up onto the stage by Keiko, which is not something I would have thought of, but it worked.
Wow.
That's a stunt I don't know that I want to do.
No.
I think stunt work would be interesting. That's not one I'm sure I want to do.
I would do it in a heartbeat.
No.
Sure.
I would not hesitate.
Well, I mean, maybe with enough time with the whale, I could do that. But yeah, I thought that was fascinating. And again, when you're shooting with a kid, it's always there's so many things that you have to take into account. Anytime you're doing night shoots, are just harder with children. But the stunt work was really good. I can't get over how good that animatronic whale looked.
Yeah.
And according to the guy that made the animatronic, it looked really good to Keiko as well. So I don't know if that's apocryphal or not, but he said that the whale looked realistic enough in the water that it was arousing Keiko.
Oh, wow.
He was famous for that when he started. Towards the end of being in that park, before he was transferred to the Oregon Aquarium, he kind of wasn't doing a lot of that behavior because he was so underweight and the papillomavirus was kind of taking over, and he was on his way out. But once he got to Oregon, apparently that used to be a thing they had to integrate into every viewing, because as soon as he started gaining weight and gaining vitality, all of his toys he would be just constantly like messing with and showing off to everybody. And so everybody who gave a lecture there had their own spiel for like what Keiko was doing, because there's 30 children staring at me and we have to explain why his prehensile penis is going up through this toy.
Oh boy. Oh.
I can't imagine.
No, I can't either. And having to like think that up on the spot too, or prepare.
Oh my God. Yeah.
That is something else. We do get the title spoken in the movie, which is always fun.
Let's free Willy.
Also, a joke, right? How many jokes, especially when we were growing up, were made about Free Willy?
Oh,
I mean,
0. I was serious at all times.
I'm
with
sure
this
you were.
film.
I'm sure. Absolutely. I did get a couple of Richard Riehle moments, and Richard Riehle and Michael Ironside. When you do a film like this, your villains do get cartoonish, and there's a couple of reasons that you really want to do that. Number one, got to go over the top with your villainy, but also do it in a way that is silly, so that they're not overly threatening. So you have this moment where Ray, Lori Petty, is talking to Wade about like how difficult it is to work with Willy. This is when Jesse comes up on them when they're trying to do a medical exam, which is a great scene because, again, this is that moment where Augie sort of realizes what's up with Jesse when he looks over and watches him let the net loose to let Willy out.
yes.
But the exchange between Wade and Ray in this moment was,
These were not the circumstances you described to me when I signed on.
You're a professional, right? So make it work.
I always hate those people in movies, right? You're a professional, make it work. Money, 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 that kind of thing. It just, it's meant to. It's meant to make me insane. And it worked. It would have been easier to take if he had his mustache, is all I'm saying. But then you get Dial shows up later in the car for the early 90s douchebag, the Corvette C4.
Mm-hmm.
If you saw somebody in a movie driving that, they were not a good guy. I'm just going to say that. It's a great car. But it was such a good shorthand for like, nope, this person just cares about money because they're driving a Corvette C4 convertible. But he shows up. They see, this is when he does his demonstration for them. So it's just those two watching it. And when he leaves,
it'll make money. And that, my friend, is what we are all about.
because it feels like both something you would never hear another person say, and yet you could also absolutely hear somebody like a suit saying that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not in those exact words, although probably, for all I know. But it's just perfect for this movie. That's all we're about, is making money. And then you get
Gotta hate that whale.
Gotta Hate That Whale, which was great, but to have it come back at the very end
Oh, gotta hate that whale.
was perfect. It's absolutely perfect, because that whole ending scene, all I'm thinking is like, all of these adults are just watching this kid do this. They're not doing anything. They're just literally watching him for minutes run all the way out there and let the whale jump over. And they're just like, I wonder if that's going to work. Or have you ever seen him jump that high? Like, nobody does a thing. It's great, including the bad guys. They're just like, well, I guess we've lost our whale.
I love that so much, because like I just feel like there's such a sense of he's never gonna make it.
Right.
Yeah.
Not worried.
Oh, absolutely. It was, and then that's the only thing you can say at that point. God, I hate that whale. But also,
Nobody steals a whale.
clearly somebody did steal a whale. A couple of Augie's lines were great. I did like,
Then you're just one lucky little white boy. You like the sound of that better?
perfect. Not the thing. All right. So, I liked,
Maybe he sees you.
that's good.
Yeah.
Maybe he sees you, which that's one of the things with Orca are they've got those big patches of white that look like their eyes, and it's not their eyes at all, but they're basically sea pandas in that way. And I think it's part of why like we latch on to them as the whales that we love in things, because they have a very distinct visual look to them. But I liked that. Oh, maybe he sees you, and just the kinship of those two. And I like Augie telling his stories.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. Now, Tim, you said you had a guess for what you thought was going to be the clip from Augie that I would capture.
Yes. If I had captured my favorite Augie moment is when he comes over and sternly, I don't remember the exact quote, but he sternly stands in front of him after he released the gate and
Mhm.
messes with what they're trying to do. And he's like, I saw what you did back there. And then gives him that approval
Yeah.
for him doing it. Cause it's just, you're waiting for him to come down on him. And he's like, nice, you know?
Yep. That's not it.
Oh, I thought that was it for
okay.
sure.
That was my first guess, but I had a
it's a
second
good
guess,
one.
so I'm excited.
It's a good one, but this was the one that I had to capture because it just tickled me.
That's what they do the rest of the time.
Carved and painted totems.
Oh, yeah.
Made music. Told stories. Made babies.
Sounds good to me.
It's the look on his face when he
Yeah.
tells this 12-year-old kid, made babies. And that little smirk was just, I'm like, nope, got to have that. Also, when Jesse's like, let's free Willy. And Randolph's response is just,
I never liked this job anyway.
Yeah.
it's like, all right, sure, I'm going to follow this kid. Why not? It was wonderful. I loved that. And I already played Nice Whale. But, I also liked this from Ray.
What Willie really likes is salmon. That's his chocolate.
Okay, I like salmon too. I don't know that I'd call it my chocolate, but I like salmon. So I
I
wanted.
think that was them trying to like squarely tie it to the northern resident killer whales. I feel like that was their bid.
So from a marine biology standpoint, because you mentioned how like this movie helped to kind of shine a light on, especially for Keiko, I think in particular, what is some of the legacy of this movie beyond, just being out there? Because obviously it was like a $20 million production. It made close to 75 million in the US, like 150 worldwide. So it was highly profitable, and clearly enough to make 2 direct sequels, which I don't know how you make a sequel to this story, but I'm sure they figured out a way. I did read like it's something where they're camping somewhere and the whales sort of it felt very like, how do you make a sequel to Jaws? type of deal, and then we'll have the shark follow them somewhere else.
Oh man. So it's actually, I mean, yes, it is that ridiculous also, but what they find out is that Jesse actually has a younger half brother whose name is Elvis. And so Jesse is kind of wrestling with, of course, Annie immediately has to take on Elvis. And then, he and Glenn are kind of having the like, well, until Annie falls in love with him and then he's stuck with us. And so that whole thing is going on. Jesse wrestling with why did my mom give me up and have this younger kid and, the kinship there. Willie also, in the meantime, his pod has had babies and he has a younger sibling too. So it's kind of like the Elvis and Willie's younger sibling, and then that whole thing. And then, of course, there's a massive oil spill in the bay and they have to escape that dramatically. And there's a helicopter scene and a giant fire they have to swim under and all sorts of cool stuff. So, the classic.
The tale as old as time, right?
Tale as old as time. It's just, an absolutely ridiculous movie. I love it so much. And I can tell you it's not as good as the first one, but I love it so much.
So that was going to be my question. As the resident Free Willy expert and the one who has watched this more than possibly anybody else.
Humanly possible. Yeah.
Do you think the sequels are worth a watch? Divorce yourself from your love of Free Willy itself.
Of the series.
And just like, because one of the things I like is a movie that can be kind of self-contained. And it told a story.
Mm-hmm.
The thing I like about this is it told a story. Willie gets away in like one of the few uses of CG in the movie that didn't age particularly well.
Oh, no, it did not.
It's hard, right? Composites are rough. And it's clearly something that can't physically happen either. Like I cannot, for the life of me, conceive of him having enough room to swim up to get enough speed to jump that whole break wall. I'm fine with it. I let it go. But it's a nice bow on the end, and there you go. Like it told a great story because it's ultimately, to me watching it this time, I noticed it's a story about family for Jesse and Willie. Willie is longing to find his family again. He was taken from them in the beginning of the movie. And it's the whole thing where like he's, crying at night. And I love that scene where Jesse hears it and then climbs up that tower and sees the pod out in the bay. And it's also Jesse finding a family and coming to grips and being comfortable with this foster family. So I liked all of that. So I'm just curious what you think of, outside of obviously the money aspect of it. Do you think there should have been sequels, or would it have been just fine to leave it at one?
Oh man. I mean, of course they could have left it at one, but I think the second one in particular is worth it. Is it as good? No, but there's a lot of fun moments in there. It brings back, for me, that one of the things I love is that kind of pseudo conservation message that's in there. And the second movie brings it back in a way that relates to a more environmental scope. And I really liked that. I like that you get a little bit more about the whales and their families and that kind of stuff. The third one should have not happened, I think. Like,
okay. All right.
That one gets real weird. They try to bring in a really intense, like, Willie has one single whale wife and they have one single whale kid, and this is very important to the plot. And you're like, none of this is how like any of this happens. And then like there's whalers in Washington just on a boat shooting whales with harpoons. Like that happened not in the 90s. Like what?
Right.
Like where are these people coming from?
Yeah. I feel like that's a bridge too far.
It goes too far, and it's still like a fun watch in a way, but it's like, if I wanted that, I would watch like Orca the Killer Whale and like latch on to that. It's like the horror movie aspect of it versus like this. Why are you trying to fit this in a kid's movie? It doesn't make any sense at all.
Well, I think too, this movie was smart in being a family oriented, kids movie. And we get the whaling at the beginning where they capture Willie. And that could have happened anywhere. But then the only other time there's like whaling going on is at the very end, and there's a plausible reason for that, which is Dial and has this investment in the whale, and he's just trying to stop somebody from taking it away from him. So my logic brain is like, no, it makes sense you would get these people in there to throw some nets out and stop it.
And it also made sense from the perspective of like they're trying to recapture him, right? So doing it with net, they're doing it in the way that like when they were actually doing captures off of the coast, they would do it. The nets, the sound, the bombs in the water, the boats circling them, the Pequod there, which was a very fun boat name to throw out.
I saw that.
But it was pretty good. And the third one, they're straight up shooting them with harpoons. Like it's
Ugh.
literally, it's like guys with guns shooting whales, and you're like, what are we doing here?
That's unfortunate. But, you know, I mean, this is a movie that, again, I had not seen in 30 years, but it was fun to revisit it. And it's also cool, Tim, for you to finally get to see it and understand, like, because this is I think movies like this don't exist anymore. And by that, I mean, it is a kid's movie. It is aimed at a young audience, but it doesn't talk down to the audience. And it's not overly sanitized, but it's also not edgy for the sake of being edgy. Like it's that perfect mix of Jesse is the 12-year-old street tough and he's difficult to deal with, but he's also like very much Hollywood's idea of what that is.
We had a similar conversation actually on Animorphs Anonymous not long ago, where we talked about how it was important for the way that we grew up sort of perceiving animals and like the way that animals needed to be treated, that we were presented with what we called animal ambassadors.
Mhm.
And you're right. It just doesn't seem to be quite the same thing now, or it doesn't seem to be as prevalent, or it doesn't seem to have the same impact that it did for us. And I don't know if that's just because maybe media doesn't
Well,
land the
even
same way for kids as it did for us. But
no, I think that's a valid story. I'm just gonna jump in here.
Go for it.
Like a rude person. I think that's true, but there's also that aspect of like no one wants to buy into this that has those animal ambassadors. Like the only reason they got this script with this whale was because the guy that owned Reno Adventura did not read the script. It got rejected by SeaWorld. It got rejected by Marineland. It got rejected by every place they tried to film except this one. So like, I feel like there's so much more focus now too on like, you can't get those interactions. You can't get those animal ambassadors. And also they're not going to agree to it because what happened at the end of this, they had to donate their whale.
Yeah.
They missed out on a bunch of money because the kids wanted a free Willy.
Yeah. And I did see where Richard Donner came up with the idea of putting the Earth Island Institute hotline at the end for the credits. And supposedly they raised something like $20 million with that off the back of this movie for the Save the Whales Foundation, which is pretty crazy. Like that's a non-trivial amount to raise off of just literally putting a hotline at the end of a kid's movie, which is really cool. Yeah, because I did read.
And they did not expect it.
No. And Keiko the whale lived until what, 27 years old? Did I read that right?
Yeah, 27, 28.
Okay.
Yeah, he was up there.
Made it to 2003. So a good 10 years past this movie, Keiko was still doing his thing. That's cool.
I had one thing that I wanted Alex to explain to me that I've been waiting for since I finished this movie, and it was the dorsal fin situation.
Okay, yes.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, go for it.
How it's flopped over?
Yeah, what was going on there?
So that is something that happens to almost all, well, I think we're at 100% of adult males in captivity. And you'll see it on some females too, but they obviously don't get the 6 foot tall fins. They don't actually know, like the movie was 100% right. Lori Petty's line was right. They don't 100% know why it happens. They have some theories. They think it might be that without the ocean currents and swimming as far as they do, because orcas can travel hundreds of miles within a week, there's nothing to keep the dorsal fin up. They think it might be something to do with dehydration because orcas, they get most of their water intake actually from their food. So when they're eating fish that are being frozen, they lose out on a lot of the liquid content of it. So they actually have to be fed ice mixed in with their fish. So they gets that. But it is something that we do occasionally see in the wild, usually as an indicator of illness. But there's very famous whales there, port and starboard, which are orcas, two brother orcas. They are actually shark-eating orcas, which is really cool. But their fins have flopped over in the wild opposite of each other. So, like, we don't 100% know why it happens. We have theories, but we're not sure.
That's cool that the movie didn't try to make like that into something that it wasn't. Because I think that would have been easy to do, right? Especially if you have any kind of an environmental message that you're trying to do in your movie. So I appreciate them not doing that. But that's interesting that we still don't know why that happens.
Yeah, it's something that they've been trying to figure out, but we still just don't know.
Very cool. Well, this was a fun movie to revisit, like to go back, because it did take me back to being, 12, 13 years old, watching this at home and being like, yeah, this is a fun movie. Like, is it a movie that I was rushing to watch again? It was not. But having watched it, I see why it holds such a strong place for people. Absolutely. And it's one that I would watch again for sure. And Tim, you had a good time with it.
I did. Like I said, it was dicey at the beginning, but by the end of this movie, I'm like, no, this is a really good one. And for more than just the animal stuff, like we talked about, like the Michael Madsen stuff, the Lori Petty stuff. Like there were a lot of reasons to like this movie.
No, it's again, like I said, it's that finding a family or returning to your family. Like Willy is getting returned to his family, and Jesse is finding his family that he needs, and both of them needed that, but they needed each other to get there. It's a very uplifting movie without diving too much into heavy cheese. And I think that's why I say it's a movie, this type of movie doesn't exist anymore, in that it is very much a Hollywood film, but it doesn't feel as manufactured. It doesn't feel as forced as some can, and it's allowed to, it's sort of, there was a filmmaking style of this era that you don't get anymore because there's so much business involved. And there was even then. But, I see it with action movies too. Like we don't have those 90s Peter Hyams action movies that we used to get because it's either micro budgets or it's $150, $200 million being spent on something. And I think the same thing with like kids movies. Although I will say kids movies animated these days are doing a great job of not talking down to the audience. Something like The Wild Robot. I don't know if you saw that, but if you haven't, watch that. It is phenomenal. It had me in tears by the end of it. It was a great message, but it also doesn't talk down. And I appreciate that in stuff geared towards younger audiences, because that was the thing that I loved about the kids movies I had, was either it wasn't afraid to scare you, right? Like Don Bluth wasn't afraid to scare you or show you really hard things. That Don Bluth, Jim Henson, they understood kids can take a lot. I think we over course corrected to like too much of worrying about showing a kid something that's scary, or showing Land Before Time, the first one. It's heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking. And that was a kid's movie, like, but you cry at it. The Wild Robot did that. So definitely, if you get a chance, see that. But no, thank you so much for coming on. You guys are great, and it was super fun to talk about this movie. Now, you two are 2/3 of a podcast that you have had me on for some reason. But tell people about the Horse Girls podcast again, or any other projects you're working on.
Okay, so Horse Girls is where Alex and Jenna are taking the time to teach me how to become a proper horse girl. And it's a lot of fun. We go through the horse media that they consumed growing up while we're doing that, and some newer stuff. We just got to talk to the author of the eventing series, and it was a ton of fun.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's really cool. And then we also do Animorphs Anonymous, where we talk about Animorphs, where if you talk about kids media not talking down to children, that's a shining example of it, because the exact response I always get is, "This is for kids." It's a ton of fun. The short version is if you want to find anything that we're doing, go to airtimefornonsense.com.
That's a great
Everything is
website
listed
name,
there.
by
What's
the
that?
way. Airtimefornonsense.com is phenomenal.
Which
Well done with
I
that.
pirated from a Catherine Applegate book. That was written in a book. I'm not going to give airtime to nonsense. And I'm like, well, that's a great phrase.
Absolutely.
That's where that came from.
Hey, look, you always steal from the good ones.
Yeah, there you go.
That's how
There
you
you
do it. Now, this show I do weekly because I can't stop. You talked about shark eating whales, and I am a podcasting shark. If I stop podcasting, I will just cease to exist. So I keep going. And I do it every week right here, twitch.tv/TV's Travis, typically Sunday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern time for the live stream. Show comes out in the podcast form on Wednesdays, anywhere you get your shows, including YouTube as a video version. You can go to tvstravis.com, find this show, find all of the other shows that I'm doing, which is far too many because not only can I not stop podcasting, but I keep collecting more of them. I'm a podcasting magpie, and I just more and more and more. But you can find all those at tvstravis.com. I've got a link to the merch store there. And also the Patreon. Patreon.com/WYHS lets me do things like my live tapings of this show at Dragon Con, or next year we'll be at Nerdtacular. And the more patrons and support I get there, the more of those types of things that I can do throughout the year, which is always fun. And it just keeps the show going. But if you can't back it financially, I understand that. Just watching the show, listening to the show, word of mouth, leaving a review helps a ton. Always great. Next week, I have Dennis Robinson from Botched is coming on. We're going to watch. He has never seen The Hunt for Red October.
What a wild. Okay.
Right.
I know y'all say the same thing about me and Free Willy, but that is a bonkers one to just never have seen.
I get it. I've also never seen it, so I get
Right,
it.
but we understand you've only ever seen movies that have horses in them or Free Willy. So
Yeah, exactly. If there's not an animal, I'm not watching it.
but Dennis hasn't seen Hunt for Red October, so I said, all right, we're going to fix that because it is a John McTiernan film, and I love his movies. Sean Connery, Alec Baldwin, you got Scott Glenn shows up in there. Sam Neill is in the movie.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot. This is going to be a fun one. So that's what's coming up next week. It is a great cast and a super fun movie about submarines during the Cold War, which is even better. So that's what's coming up next week. And I have some more fun ones down the line, including showing somebody Gremlins for the first time.
Oh, fun.
Which I can't wait for. And Amy Frost and Phil Keating are coming back later in the month of December to continue my Wes Anderson education and are going to show me a fun movie. You're not going to want to miss that one because anytime I get those two and we talk Wes Anderson, it is a blast. So definitely come back for that. But for this show, for this episode, thank you, Alex. Thank you, Tim. Always a pleasure. And I'm glad that we finally got Tim to watch this movie. And Alex, you got a chance to talk about this movie, which I know you've just been, since we said we're going to do this, I've been feeling the vibrations as you've been waiting to talk.
Sorry, it's been an intense time.
But definitely, and Free Willy is worth watching. I will say that if you have not seen it and you've heard us talk about it, first of all, there's not much to spoil in the movie, so don't feel bad about that. But watch it. I think it's fun. It's uplifting. That's the big thing I took away from it. Was it is uplifting without feeling overly cheesy. There's a little cheese, a little '90s cheese. I'm fine. But it's not full on Limburger. It's not stinky cheese. It's good. It's the good stinky cheese. It's the Parmesan, Parmigiano Reggiano. But no, until next week, The Hunt for Red October with Dennis. Just remember to enjoy your movies, everyone. And let's be excellent to each other. And let's Free Willy.
What exactly are you into, Jesse?
I'm not into talking while I'm eating.
Come on, Jesse. Jeez.